Welcome back to another episode of the Cyber Queens Live. We are your Cyber Queens. I'm Meryl Vernon, resident ethical hacker and offensive security expert.
I'm Erica Eakins, your technical sales rep and CRO of Teach Kids Tech.
Oh,
Yeah, Amber DeVelvis, CEO of Teach Kids Tech and a security advisor.
And we are joined today by someone very special. I am super excited for this interview because when we first started Cyber Queens and I spun up all of our social accounts, I did not think Instagram would be our biggest platform, but apparently it is. And, one day, a few weeks into the launch, Christa Weik, I should have asked you that.
Weik, yeah, that's
Weik.
okay.
Okay, I've never said your last name in all the times we've met up. Christa came to us in the DMs of Instagram just saying that she was inspired by the things we were saying, felt stuck, wanted to come to us for a bit of help, kind of reinventing herself and her career. So Christa came to us and I've been working with her ever since then, one-on-one as a mentee. So without further ado, Christa, please tell us about yourself, what you do, your background.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. I am Christa Weik. I'm in the Midwest. I operate now as a senior data privacy analyst for a life science company. When I kind of came to Cyber Queens, I've actually followed Amber for a long time on Instagram. Got started with all those little TikToks and getting into cybersecurity. There's just not a lot of us. I felt like, a couple of years ago, it seems like it's really grown so much. And I was really struggling in my role and figuring out where I fit in because I've kind of always been involved in data privacy to some degree or some form of legal aspect. And I always knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know how to get there. And I know y'all pen test ethical hacking is not for me. It's not my cup of tea.
It's not for everybody.
But
okay,
yeah.
Not mine either.
Mine either.
Stuff about me, I guess. When I first got started in my career, I did insurance and I got into SIU, which is Special Investigative Unit. Just kind of goes into like fraud and insurance, that legal aspect, and then became a litigation analyst. From there, I knew I really loved like legal frameworks, understanding how the law operates and the impacts it has. So I just decided to go back to school, get my degree in cybersecurity and see where that would take me. And it wasn't really easy either. It was kind of a difficult path to kind of pave my way. There weren't things like data privacy analyst or GRC analyst back in like 2016-ish, 2017. So I kind of had to just say yes to a lot of things and really force myself into conversations with other people and other teams to show that, I had adaptability and I wanted to do this. It really grew from there.
I love that.
I love that too. So you started with the degree, you got a cybersecurity degree first and then came in. What did you come in as first? How did you find your way to GRC and privacy?
My first role in IT was a business analyst. I feel like that's such a great segue too for people that maybe don't do coding, because a lot of it is just understanding requirements, understanding like how to do framework. I know Lord help, I try to do coding and it is I don't know what it is. There's this little door I can't unlock in my brain to get coding down. But I think that came a lot from doing litigation and having to write a lot of formal documentation. So that was a very transferable skill into business analytics and doing sort of that environment. So whenever I graduated in 2018, GDPR was a thing and my company was preparing for it. And I said, hey, I'd love to be involved in this. So I did a lot of database management with GDPR.
Nice. So I feel like, first of all, I love your niche. Like as someone who works at OffSec now, but grew up in risk, I love the other functions of security. And this just goes to show you don't have to be an ethical hacker. It's not the end all be all in cyber, right? Like there are plenty of other paths. So for those who don't understand, because I know most of my colleagues do these colleagues here, the colleagues out on LinkedIn, what is data privacy? And like, what do you as a privacy expert and analyst do? How do you tie it into GRC? Like, just kind of tell us about your on the job.
Yeah, I would say data privacy falls into like the third triage of GRC and under compliance. What do you comply with? And when in terms of data privacy, I think we all hear things of like, what Meta's doing, Facebook, consent modules, things like that. And a lot of what I do is just making sure that our website, it's a global e-commerce site, is complying with all regulations, not just things that are stateside. So we look a lot of like the European market, Canadian, Latin America, things all across the globe that weigh heavily on what we do as a commerce, or as an e-commerce site, sorry. And part of that was kind of doing a risk assessment of what does our front end look like to the average consumer. If they come to our website, what does it look like? Are we complying? Are we doing the basic things like privacy notices, cookie consent? Do we have, wall banners in place? If someone said like, I don't want to do any tracking, we had an instance where, you couldn't even access the website. And I'm like, well, we can't do that, guys. We got to evaluate that. But that's one of those things is that people, these larger companies are starting to realize they don't have data privacy analysts. They don't have a data privacy team. So they're really missing those assessments and sort of that gap analysis.
I'm going to add something right there. So just for everybody that's out there listening, the number one thing that chief information security officers, CISOs, CISOs, however you say it, and CTOs are concerned about in 2023 is data privacy. Data. Everybody is concerned about their data. So this is going to be something huge. And it's a good segue into cyber or into the tech field, because on the sales side, that's all I'm talking to CISOs about is, how to protect it. How do I, how am I compliant, privacy, all of these things. So this is a phenomenal segue into the industry, like I said. And it's kind of cool. You're like the data popo. The IT people hate you because you're like the popo within, you're like the police within the company.
Marketing hates me for sure.
I gotta say, the more Christa talks,
makes two of us.
like I understand privacy like at a high level, like the GDPR provisions and stuff, but the more Christa talks about like cookie consent and data gathering and things, I'm like, no, you lost me. Like I know I want to find all those places and things on your website where you store all that stuff, but I don't know how you go about like protecting it from me very well. I will not lie.
It's definitely fair. I think, my husband, he's a full stack engineer. And so when we try to communicate about our two jobs, it both goes over our heads. So like he has no interest whatsoever in what I do. And when he talks about it, I'm like, that's nice. Good for you.
What aspect of data protection, data privacy, what aspect of that would you say organizations generally suck at? Because we know y'all do.
Ooh, gosh. Probably understanding where all your data lives. Right. One of the projects I worked on was like a data lineage mapping as far as what are our collection points, and then where is that data stored and where does that data branch off to? Because when you start getting into the nitty gritty of it, you'll start to see, well, we just thought it'd be really cool if we had this data in this database and then we put it over here and then we have it in a random Google sheet and you're just like, oh my God, like what's going on? And I think that's an area where companies are really going to start to struggle as far as like data cleanup, data management, and then just understanding who has access to the data.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's like,
Yes.
that's great and stuff for on-prem too. But then you think about cloud migration, right? And that's my favorite question to ask. Erica and I know this, right? We were trained pretty heavily on this when we were at ForcePoint for a while. And the number one question is, tell me about where your data is today. Right? Because then it's so open-ended. People are like, oh, it's really locked down. It's like, oh,
yes.
Really? Tell me more about that. What do you mean locked down? And then we go and we start finding other things. And especially when we're talking to people with cloud migration, when they're in the middle of a cloud migration, they don't realize that there's applications that people are using and storing their data on. Like Trello was a big one for a long time. That was just so like everyone was like, oh, I have my own personal account. It's fine. It's like all my data, all your data too, by the way, is up here now. It's totally fine. Right. So I feel like that's such a critical job. I'm so proud of you for starting that way.
Oh, thank you.
Dying over here.
Yeah, I think it's a weird false narrative that I think people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, they say it's secure, but it's like nothing's 100% secure. Right. The number one cause is usually human error and why there's some sort of data leakage. That's one of the number one causes.
Yeah.
Not to mention, go ahead, Erica.
Don't get me started on people that say, I'm fully secure. I'm good. We don't need your stuff.
Yeah, I like
Can't get us.
Yeah. Tell me. What's the secret sauce?
For me, I'll come in and I'll be like, they're like, I'm like, where does this data go? They're like, oh, once you kick off that workflow, it like opens tickets in Jira and does things like that. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Did you know it's duplicating that same work stream in ServiceNow, which has a service account level password and no one's monitoring? No, it's not. Yes, it is. So it's like, when you start asking where the data is, people panic because they're like, crap, where's the data? Do you know where it is? I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. We don't know where. Like, oh God, no. Well, that's super fascinating. I honestly didn't know that this was like a function. I thought privacy people were kind of just like policy people, but like Christa's in there manipulating the website and touching databases and doing SQL things. I don't understand. I
think I have a sort of like unique experience because I have much more of a technical background as well. So I kind of work as like a marriage counselor between legal and technical.
Oh my gosh. God bless you.
Yeah.
Who needs a marriage counselor between legal and IT departments? Krista's your girl right here.
Right.
Exactly.
Get me started on legal either.
Oh God. Yeah. No. The only people you hate more than the cyber folks are the legal folks. Okay.
Well, and to be fair, on the sales side, they do protect us. Even though I sometimes dislike working with them, they're great people. I love my legal team at Sentinel One. You guys are amazing. That's where I'm in sales currently. But sometimes just writing SOWs, which are statement of works, and redlining and back and forth and customer and fighting between the vendor, I'm just like, come on, bro, let's be happy. And then our GRC people come in and they're like, nope. I'm
no. Okay. So Christa, you're out there, you're doing the GRC and privacy thing. You're blowing the minds of people like us daily. Cause like I said in my description, none of you really understand what data privacy is or how to do it. That's why we all need people like Christa. I need people like Christa. But what brought you to the Cyber Queens? What was it that made you DM us that first day? What was going on?
I think because it was just this massive rut of knowing I wanted to do something so deeply in privacy, but not knowing the different avenues, because like I said, it's not something that's, at least that I've been exposed to or talked about on a regular basis. And before Meryl, actually, I was not very active on LinkedIn. I'm like, well, I'm not really looking for a job. Like, why do I care? I'm not going to be social on it. And then some people are just really weird on LinkedIn too. They'll just message you really random things and it kind of weirds me out. But no, I was just kind of like in this really weird rut of just not knowing what to do. And I felt like I wasn't getting where I wanted to be in my career. And then on top of that, like I've always been surrounded by male colleagues. So it was kind of refreshing to see Cyber Queens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's women out there like me. And I just wanted to have someone to talk to about what I wanted to do and sort of the nuances of being kind of like females in security. Sometimes it's hard out there.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a question there. Sorry, Amber, were you going to add something?
No,
to that?
Go for it.
So reaching out to the Cyber Queens and obviously seeing that there's women out here, what made you go forward and select a mentor? Other than the fact that there's other women out there like you, what was your selection process and criteria? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it was the environment. It just seemed much more welcoming and warm and something that you could talk to on a much more like personal basis. It wasn't just so technical, so professional. I could say, if I wanted to curse or say I had a shit day today, like it was things like that kind of mattered to me. I wanted to talk to someone I could on a real life basis and not just be like, I did this at work and I'm doing this. And,
right.
Sometimes it's just too stagnant.
I remember reading Krista's message. She was like, hey, I hope this is okay. She was like, I just want to say, like, I really relate to what you guys say. It's nice to know that, like, other people are out there kind of in this struggle. And like, she just seems so down. And she was like, I'm myself kind of stuck. And I was like, oh no. And I didn't know what about like upskilling or interpersonal or whatever, but I was like, yeah, let's just talk about it. Like, I'm just here for you if you want to vent it out, because sometimes we need a safe space to do that.
Yeah. I think in our first meeting, I think I just started crying. I was like, I swear I'm not this emotional. I said, but I just never had someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And just like relate to what I'm going through and sort of the struggles of what it's like not knowing where I'm going in this career, but knowing there's some sort of path forward for me.
Yeah. And there's always that path. And we preach this so much on here, but network, right? No matter where, no matter which platform, even in real life, IRL, guys, make sure that you're making those connections because that is so huge. I felt the same. And I know I've preached this a million times, but even when I met Erica, was right after I started attending the like women in security, chapter meeting things here. And I felt so out of place. I was like, oh my gosh. I got there and I was like, oh, even though this place is full of just women, I feel like everybody's smarter than me. Everybody knows more than me. I'm just going to like sit down and be quiet. And then you realize like, those are really places to, sometimes you can talk shop and talk about tech and everything else. But a lot of times it's really just kind of like almost like a gal's gripe session a little bit, if you will, of like, hey, here's what we're all struggling with. And then you're like, oh, it's safe here. Like I can totally talk, whenever I want. It's wonderful. And, you've come to the right place for that. Okay, Christa, you've come to the right place.
Absolutely. I just got back from my SKO last week with Sentinel One, and we have a women's network within Sentinel One. Shout out to those ladies. And there was a happy hour on one of the first nights, and so many ladies just felt free to talk. They were so relieved that it was okay to say something and not get attacked. Like that's one of the biggest fears that I'm seeing with women in the industry and kind of across the board. But so many people were not judged. They didn't feel like they were judged for what they were saying. They didn't feel like they were going to be attacked for what they're saying. And real live emotional things happen. Women were crying and it was great. Like I missed part of that happy hour because my flight was late. Thanks Denver snow. But I was just so proud to see that I'm with a company that supports it for one. And for two, that so many other people women do feel the way that I feel. Cause I still kind of feel like that even 12 years into the industry. I'm like, I really can't say that. But then I'm like, but I can though, because if somebody of a different gender said that, they'd be praised, but I'm emotional or aggressive if I say it. And I've talked about that before too, how I'm perceived as aggressive and overstepping versus somebody on the male gender side. They're like, oh, heck yeah,
who's just killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it, bro.
I feel like we catch so much flack because we do a lot of women only meetups and like women's happy hours. Like at DEF CON and Black Hat, like there were so many like women's only events, like women's empowerment breakfasts and stuff like that. And everyone's like, you're separating yourselves and like you're calling attention to it by not just hacking it with us, right? And it's like, no, you don't understand because everyone thinks human beings are thinking beings that feel, but human beings are feeling beings that think actually. Like we're emotionally driven first by nature as a species. Not everybody, there's anomalies. Don't come at me. But yeah, women, especially with the chemical and hormone makeup that we have, we are more emotional. And like sometimes it's like you come to your people and like you do just want to cry about something or you want to talk about something. Like I had a really hard week at work 2 weeks ago. And all my male colleagues, which I love them so much, they're so supportive, but they're all coming out to me. They're like, how are you doing? Like, do you want to talk? Da, da, da. And I'm like, honestly, you guys, I'm having a rough time with it. Like, I'm going to cry. Like, that's okay. You can cry to us. And I'm like, thank you. But like, you feel ridiculous. Like you feel like I'm not coming up to your level. I've never seen you cry about bad news you got at work. So it does make us feel off put. And we do need safe spaces to come and have that passion and try to separate our personal feelings from our work performance, which is very difficult for us. So, I mean,
I don't think you could cry to a guy, even though they say that. I'm sorry, man.
No, I did.
But
I did.
No, I know. Like, oh, you did? Okay.
I had no one else.
You get it.
There wasn't a female I could go to. I cried to one of my mentees, Mackenzie, who was on a few episodes ago. I cried to her. I was like, girl, I know this is your session. I'm so sorry. She's like, that's okay. It's like really, sometimes I get reverse mentored by my mentees,
There you go.
It's a two-way street. So speaking of, Christa, when you did reach out or like I don't know we were necessarily seeking to mentor each other. Like I was just kind of hoping I could just like talk to you for a minute and like help out. But what did you have the goal of getting a mentor or what was your goal coming out of that? Or like, did you at one point realize maybe I do need a mentor and like what brought you there?
Yeah, I think after listening to probably like the second podcast too, and just like the brief conversations we had going on through Instagram DMs, it was one of those things where I'm like, I really do kind of need this. I need someone I can speak to who's also in the industry and who is so much more outspoken than I am. Because I mean, you know how I am, Meryl. I'm very mousy. I'm very reserved, and I kind of keep to myself. And so it really meant a lot for me to have that sort of environment where I could come to someone and say, like, I need this mentor. I need someone to help kind of hold my hand a little bit and walk through this and tell me it's going to be okay. There's a spot for you here.
Right. That's so important. And I really despise, I'm trying to say the word hate, but let's be real. I really despise when that isn't just like a social norm. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been in any industry. Like, you should be able to get help from your own, like, ecosystem at your employment. But also, people that are networking with you, right? It's like, and I get so many messages that are like, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you. I'm like, don't ever lead with that. Right. Cause like, this is literally, if we put ourselves out there to say, hey, like, ask me questions, right? We really mean that. And if you don't, then that's your problem. You deserve all the annoyance you can get. But I really do think that it's so important to be able to just say, hey, I have a question. I mean, for me, everybody who is watching this that has known me for longer than like 5 years knows that I have always been a very, like you said, mousy, like very kind of like shy, like very introverted. There are so many times where Erica has had to like be like big sister for me because I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be the weird, odd one out. But that's good because then it also over time kind of like, indirectly mentors me to be like, okay, I can do this too. I can stand up for myself. I can say these things with a normal tone and it will be respected and taken as such. Right. So those are things that you just get over time anyway. And I think that's so important. So never let somebody say that you're bothering them when you're asking for help, especially getting into this industry, because we need so much more of that. And I know that these two ladies up here do this all the time and they're very good at that. And I'm getting better, guys. So, but I am here for questions.
I just want to say that, like, when the Cyber Queens say at the end of each episode, we're open to you. Our DMs are open.
Right.
Please hit us up if you need help, if you just need to ask. Like, we don't say that just to say it. Like, really, like, I take every single one personally. Like, we're here for you. If you guys just want to complain, you want to ask a question, like, there is no question too small. I'm so grateful that Christa had the gall to reach out. Like, she could have just kept suffering and like been unhappy and like not sure where to go or who to turn to. But like, I'm really glad she came to us and thought we were relatable enough that, we wouldn't bite our head off, and we didn't. Like, if you just need someone to listen, sometimes I need that. Like, I just want to say, we don't just say that. We really mean it. You can reach out to us at any time and we're here for you. Even you men, like, you men want to come bitch and cry about something, we got you.
We're here for that. Find us in the comments.
I think the other thing too, Amber, that you pointed out is I think I did start the conversation with, I'm really sorry, because I've been in the industry. I've been in IT for 7-8 years. And I remember talking to my husband, like, I don't feel like I should need help at this point, but I do. And I think that's another important thing is that, like, even though I've been in here for so long, you're just in that weird career rut, like, just reach out.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. And the best part about this podcast is that we have all of our viewers that get to see folks like Christa and everyone that we've had prior to this, and me including, right? Because I did this stuff too. I was so afraid to ask. I was always apologizing for asking for help. This is so good because then it starts to normalize it. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, like, this is normal. Okay, I'm going to walk away from this podcast. And if anything else, I'm just going to get a lot braver. We'll put it that way, since I'm limited on what I can say on this podcast. But yeah, basically just start asking. Don't be afraid. Do not be ashamed. Like, unapologetically ask for help. That's what I would say.
If you have to go into every meeting, say, what would Meryl, Erica, and Amber do? Then do that, because you know what we would do in any given situation.
Mm-hmm. Don't start with I'm sorry. I always tell people, because Amber,
I know
her and I always go back and forth with this, like, well, you start with I'm sorry to, or I apologize. Don't start with that, because right there you're giving up. And I don't want to say you're in a power struggle, but you're giving them power over what you're feeling, asking, and how the conversation is going to go. Just be direct. And Amber's done a very good job. We met back in 2019. She was my my pre-sales SE at Force Point, and I can't tell you how much she has grown just as an individual, but professionally. And she's starting to become like, I'm so proud of little mini me, because you can never apologize up front. And even if you're reaching out to somebody, don't say, I'm sorry for reaching out, because I have people coming to me all the time. Would you like for me to do your SEO? Hey, I'm hiring. Do you want to hire, or are you hiring for a top A sales player? And I tell them, listen, the industry is toxic, and I'm not hiring those toxic A players under me at Teach Kids Tech to be salespeople. I don't apologize for that, because I'm trying to change things. And people can call me a B, or they can praise me. it's all about how confident you sound and how you carry the conversation. I can guarantee you, even if you're confident, even if you sound confident, but you're not, the conversation will go so different for you.
Yeah. And then also not apologizing for it, like I said, normalizes it. So just keep doing it.
I have never gotten to a point in my career, and I probably never will, where I no longer need help or guidance. I'm still reaching out to people. Like, now that I'm here, the expectations are different. I need help navigating this, and everything that you're navigating is new. So like, I don't care if you have a 30-year career, like the comment below, or a 3-year career, like I've got. Like, you will probably always need guidance, and you should never be ashamed to ask for help. In fact, my New Year's resolution, I started working on this last year actually, is to stop saying I'm sorry. Instead, I say thank you. So instead of saying sorry, I'm late, I say thank you so much for waiting. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's like, because if I could do one thing for womankind, it would be to take I'm sorry out of our freaking vocabulary. You just can't say it anymore. It just, those words are gone. Like, you look up table, no. But it's true. It's true. Like, everyone needs help at some point. I know COOs and CEOs who get mentoring from other CEOs. Like, pretty much everybody needs guidance at some point. So never be afraid to ask about it. So let's just open it up generally. So have you guys also ever had a mentor in your cyber career, Amber, Erica?
Yeah, I've only ever had mentors. Pretty sure all of you guys have been one. Christa, you're next. I'm kidding. Christa's fabulous. No, I wouldn't be where I am without them, right? Like, I feel like as shy as I have always just innately been, right? I have found a way to almost put myself into groups and situations where I'm supported. And I really do get lucky at that. I try to find, I call them the nicest people in the room when I go to a new company, right? I'm like, is this person going to like hate me if I ask too many questions? And I somehow like naturally gravitate towards them. I'm like, oh, this person's okay. I feel like this is a good bet right here, right? But then also finding other groups too. So networking groups like the women in security groups, right? We have Lyft here. There's actual WISIS that's here. I mean, there's so many different options to choose from. And the best part is those groups of women are not just the same, role, not the same level, not the same anything. We've got people that have just started out in the industry day one. And then we've had 30-year veterans that used to be CISOs that are now public speakers and all of this crazy stuff. So you get like this really vast, like, experience, like a variety, like an a la carte of experience, guys. Okay. You have to bear with me right now.
Smorgasbord, a buffet, a buffet of experience.
As much exposure as you can get, the better. Like, it does not matter. Because at the end of the day, you never know who's going to help you with what, right? Or maybe change like your mindset on something different. So it's always about evolving.
Yeah. I'm someone who has a lot of confidence, like boiling over. So I've never been afraid to like be the stupid person or ask stupid questions. Like, I have friends who'll be like, I want to ask a stupid question, but I'm afraid I got it. I have a stupid question, but help me out. Like, I'll take that bullet for you, but not everybody can do that. And it's not always a strength. Sometimes it's a detriment. So I have to find the buddies at my organizations where I'm like, hey, I'm working on not doing this. I'm working on not over speaking and like stepping on toes and Can you be my ally in this meeting to like give me a signal when I'm doing it, so I know in the moment how to like train myself and dial it back. So like, just because I'm very outspoken doesn't mean I don't have things that I work on. And I seek like interpersonal and soft skill mentors, even if I don't need help with technical stuff. So like, you can have a mentor in like any area. Yeah. I'm just saying. So what qualities do you guys value in mentors? How do you go about finding one?
Personally, for me, because I have most of my mentors are entrepreneurs or some sort of C-level executive that has run sales and marketing, being on the sales side. But I have different types of mentors. So I have mentors for growing my sales career, growing my just everything, making me a well-rounded salesperson, and somebody who is mentoring me to be the CRO that I need to be for Teach Kids Tech. So that's one side. I look for qualities based off of my full-time job and where I'm going with everything else that's going on, Cyber Queens, Teach Kids Tech. But not only that, I have a mentor that also helps just build my people skills, just on a personal level, how I can grow, my mindset, because growth mindset is really, really important for me. And I don't necessarily use that for my career per se, but I use that for my personal basis because I know I need to grow my mind because I stop myself a lot of the times. So we are our own worst enemies in a sense that we will tell ourselves we can't do something. and then we won't do it because we keep telling ourselves. So I have a mentor for like personal and professionally. And what I look for is the success in those people. Do they have the qualities that I'm looking for to grow my career, my business? Do they have the qualities that I need to grow on a personal level? So I just look for the similar things that I'm looking for. I meet with them, I interview them. It's like looking for a job. And I hate to say it like that, but I have to interview them and I get to know them a little bit before I select them. I don't just go based off of what their resume or LinkedIn says or whatever they've done in their career. I have to see that they've been successful with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Erica, as always, is, a little bit more stringent than me. I treat everybody as a mentor, right? Like anybody who's willing to have a conversation with me about the crazy questions and like the track that my mind goes down, I'm like, oh, okay. It's almost like this sounds really cheesy. It's almost like a vibe check. You know what I mean? Like, am I getting is it a good organic conversation? Do I feel like I'm being pushy? Like, cause it's going to feel like a natural flow, right? You know what I mean? And so it's great to be able to look up to people. I think in the beginning I was kind of, looking up on LinkedIn, like all of these amazing women that had the job titles that I wanted. And I was like, okay, I'm going to look at their background and see like what they had to do to get where they are. Right. Because college, contradictory to my favorite sweatshirt, was not my thing. Right. It was not in the cards for me. I've been like, I have to find somebody who has, risen through the ranks without getting a piece of paper to prove that first. Right. And so for me, it was just talking to anybody and everybody, right, about whatever. And eventually, usually through your conversations, you'll get introduced to other people, right? I got introduced to Meryl through Erica, and it's, been amazing ever since. And I just feel like just kind of utilize, like, yes, it's good. Erica always has like 5 steps above me, right? She's got like standards and like milestones. I'm just kind of winging. I'm like, all right, what's next? Who's going to influence my life today? You know what I mean? So I think also just being open to communicating with a lot of different people can help you grow your own perspective.
That's why you chose me to be in charge of revenue for your company.
Erica and I are we're a lot of the same person too. We attack things the same. I've got like a 10-step program already.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why Meryl is part of Teach Kids Tech as well. So that, I mean, you got to surround yourself with people who you want to be like when you grow up, I guess. That's the best way to put it.
That's a good lesson in alignment, because like it was the kind of thing where like Erica and I did want to bring Amber on to the Cyber Queens, and it's like, we're all about diversity. We're all also about our kids. We're all 3 moms, and we're like, wow, like your initiative is great and so is yours. And it's like the fact that we all aligned so well value-wise in an effort to be able to combine 2 different missions speaks to just how much like you will find your people the more you network with people like you.
Right.
And like Christa's one of our people now.
Yes.
So
yes,
Christa, bringing it back to you. So what results, we're going to brag a little bit on you. So what results did you see like throughout the work that we've done together? What were some of the things that came out of it? What differences did you start to see, and tell us about, some of the things you're exploring now and how that came about? Because that's a huge win.
Number one thing is like my confidence, being able to speak more assertively about what I do and what I know. Like I said earlier, I felt I had no path. I felt like no one really cared about privacy, even though it's such a big topic. And like, Erica was saying with data privacy is going to be one of the biggest things in 2023. So I would say working with Meryl gave me the confidence. Like, she's really a hype woman. I mean, she was just like, you're an all-star. Like, I can't do what you do, and saying all these things. And I was like, shoot, maybe I got this. Maybe I'm doing all right. And I told her probably day one, I said, I'm not posting on LinkedIn. It's cringy. I can't do it. And
oh, really?
now I'm pushing myself to do it. I interact a lot more in chats. It's gotten me a lot more exposure to, different companies who have, reached out and been like, hey, I've got a job for you. And like, I'll entertain it. I don't know if I'm in a position to where I feel like I would leave my current role, but I'm always open to hear more opportunities. And it's really nice to see people reaching out, as opposed to if I were in need of a job, but I have to send out 100 applications. Like, that sucks.
Yes. I love
yes.
that.
First of all, I will hype anyone at any time for any reason. I have more than enough to go around. I do. But no, we did. We broke Christa in slowly. I was like, listen, there's a way you can show up authentically and organically. And like, if your thing is you hate posting on social, be like, I hate posting on social, but I'm going to do it. Because there's someone who will identify with that. But we also completely revamped her LinkedIn, wrote her some brand new copy, like vamped up some things. I optimized the crud out of her profile. It's a thing of darn beauty. And if you haven't seen it on LinkedIn, you should go look it up because I'm personally pretty proud. And like I said, like she mentioned, things are coming to her. People are coming to her being like, tell us more about this. Tell us about what you do and how you do it. Because we need help and we think you might be the person to help us. And I'm like, that is the win. That's it. That's the magic sauce right there.
So now that organizations are coming to you and you have an open ear, that must feel so great. But what are you looking for when, like, in a new organization or like anything, like if you were to ever leave your current job, like what would make you go and leave, or just as a fit overall?
Yeah, I think at this point in my career, what I'd be looking more towards is what is the culture like? What are their thoughts on where they see their privacy team going? Because I mean, 10 years ago, I would have been like, who's paying me the most? Where's the money going? And I mean, still that's a factor, but it's not like the top tier factor. You know, what is the management style like? What are previous employees saying on like Reddit or Fishbowl, things like that. Those are the things that I'm more intrigued by as far as looking for opportunities. And so also too, how aggressive are they in like the DMs? Like some people come off very aggressive.
Highly aggressive sometimes.
Yeah.
I love when they don't read my LinkedIn and they message me something that they could have gotten the answer on off my LinkedIn.
Yeah. My personal favorite is when you don't respond. Sorry to whoever I've not responded to, and they like get really aggressive and like judgy. They're like, okay, one last time, Amber. I'm like, oh, well,
I noticed you didn't read my last message. You're like, no.
Oh,
yeah. This is the last time I'm trying. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I do. I remember. Oh, sorry. I just want to say, I remember when Christa was like, I'm willing to take a pay cut. I'm willing to take a massive pay cut as long as I'm happy. She was like, my happiness means the most to me. And I was like, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to get you both. Cause like, I'm more of an and person than an or person. Yeah. But like, it's true. I was like, that's our goal. Like our goal is to get you all the things you want, not just half of the things you want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what we've been working towards. What were you going to say, Erica? I apologize.
No, I was just going to add that something about them being aggressive. I have this person coming at me about our SEO for Teach Kids Tech. And they're like, I noticed that you do this and you do that. And I told him very nicely a couple times, I have a team. I'm good. Thank you for reaching out. And he's like, well, you need to introduce me to your team that's handling all that stuff, with the SEO and like with Teach Kids Tech overall. And I told him twice, I said, I'm going to tell you this again. I am not introducing you to my team who handles this. We are good where we're at. I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you. I will consider you if I ever need you in the future. Well, it's just an introduction. And I said, we're done.
Here we go. Thank you. What I mean?
Thank you for not giving them my number.
Well, and I understand that, because it says CRO and like Amber has CEO and Meryl has VP on our LinkedIn's and our other board as well. I keep getting these people that just thank you for reaching out. But when I tell you I'm good, I'm good. This is why people hate salespeople or companies hate salespeople because of this. And I aim to change that. That's a whole different story, but just don't be a jerk. What is the big deal? If you don't get a response, it's like when a guy hits on you and you say, thank you for the compliment. I'm not single. They say, well, you're a fat, ugly bitch. And I'm like,
yeah, then it's your fault that you're not interested. No,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to plug one of our pod besties right now, Danny Wolf, Audience First Podcast. She and Victoria Germanova, CEO of Quality, just talked about this the other day. Would you walk up to a random person on the side of the street and be like, hi, will you marry me? Then you should not be cold messaging people asking them to get into business with you, because that's the same thing. Like, if I needed something, I would go to one of these girls and say, who have you used and do you trust them and why? I would not just please spam me with anyone who does this function. Like that's never how that's going to work. And it's not how it should work for jobs either.
Yeah. And if you want a taste of how it looks to a CISO who you're trying to sell to, listen to audience first. What the WTF did I just read? I don't want to say it out loud because it's,
I think it is WTF. We'll just say WTF
Yeah.
did I just read.
But yeah, WTF did I just read? And a CISO, Chris Roberts, he's amazing, and Danny Wolf, they go into how horrible sales pitches are, what you did wrong and what you could do better and why it makes people mad. So, but then they also do good things. They say when somebody reaches out,
that's what I like about it.
The good things. Yeah.
I will just say publicly, Danny, if you're out here, if you're listening, if you're tuned in, girl, crushing it. Okay. Because I was like, I love when people are like CISOs will post and they're like, oh, here's my, whatever of the week. Here's the loser of the week kind of thing. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, is there any like suggestions or, mentoring around it? And so Danny is crushing that game. So good job if you're listening.
Yeah.
Danny.
She's almost like the sales and marketing mentor. Like if no one's ever told you what you're doing wrong and how to fix it, that's what she does. So definitely go check it out.
Again, and she has
love her.
She has a free class called the CISO Distillery. Sign up for it, read it. It talks about how you could, actually sell to people and be a human.
We will link all these things. All the things will be linked. Well, this has gone super fast. We are way over time and we're coming up on hard time. So unfortunately, we are arriving at final thoughts, final takeaways, part of our episode. But we just want to thank you all so much for coming to hang out with us, hearing a bit about privacy GRC, hearing a bit about mentoring. If you have any privacy questions, I'm going to pimp poor Christa out. Hit Christa up because she's so knowledgeable. Like I'm like, what does this mean? And she's like, yes. Yeah. So she's super knowledgeable, she does a unicorn job I couldn't do. So just saying, she's always there for you. Ladies, final takeaways, anything mentoring, anything GRC privacy, anything, even qualifying and being on the job hunt or receiving opportunities. What do you have for the audience? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because everyone always takes mine. So I would just say, do not be afraid. I'm serious. Do not be afraid to ask. Unapologetically go forward, ask the questions, ask for help, join us, join whatever local chapter you're in, right? Everybody's there to help you. And I don't know. I just think, have faith in yourself, honestly, at the end of the day. Like stop doubting ourselves so much. Beautiful. And if you need to know why, join this podcast and I'll just talk about, my life all day and we'll just do that.
Yeah. If you need a hype tribe, we're here. We got you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christa, why don't you go?
Oh, final thoughts. Yeah, I think if anyone is out there listening to this and you feel like you're struggling or like me, you were already kind of invested in your career, but still stuck in a rut, like just don't be afraid to reach out, ping these wonderful ladies, slide in the DM, say, I'm stuck. What do you suggest? I need that energy because it's helped me tremendously. It really has. It's increased my confidence so much. And if you ever have questions about data privacy, just reach out. I love talking about it. It's one of my favorite subjects next to Netflix or something.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't know what you guys are doing here it's great. I love it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, ma'am, for reaching out.
Thank you. I'm going to piggyback on that. Don't be afraid to reach out. Find somebody that's doing what you want to do or what you think want to do, and just ask questions. Don't be afraid. Be bold. Even go to, I've said this before, go to local events where, it's something to do with, cybersecurity or like just any type of IT tech groups. Find those things. WISIS, Women in Cybersecurity. That's a good organization. And hit me up. I know somebody asked in the comments how you get into cybersecurity sales. I'm happy to talk to you. That's a loaded question. There's no good answer for that, but use LinkedIn, be bold, and don't apologize, like everybody else said.
Love those. Mine in true Capricorn fashion is going to come in 3 parts. Part 1. Part 1, if you are going to pick a mentor, kind of do what Amber said. Identify someone who is where you want to be and look at how they got there. Look at multiple people and see how they got there. Are there different avenues? How did they finagle? And, don't just look at where they got to. Look at how. does the way that person developed their career align with your values? Like, or, you know, in sitting down with a conversation with them, did they do things that are just out of your comfort zone, things that you don't want to do, things that make you feel disingenuous to yourself? Like, find someone who did what you do the way you want to do it and get guidance from that person, because the main purpose of a mentor is to benefit from our experiences so you don't have to repeat the same mistakes. Second, just realize that there is, like Amber said again, there's a lesson to be learned everywhere. Not everyone is my official mentor. I have a lot of informal mentors I'll just ask a question to here or there. There's always a learning I can take away from somebody, even if it's just like one little nugget of brilliance. I'm like, that will stick with me for years. So there's something to be learned from pretty much anyone you talk to, even in sitting down and having a conversation. Again, Christa and I were not necessarily destined to be in a mentor-mentee relationship. The fact that we are just happened to work out. I did offer, but sometimes, you know, it's just a conversation. It's just something you can take away and implement immediately. And hopefully that helps you to the next step. And third, I already lost sight of my third one. Oh yeah. Not every mentor is meant to be in your career forever. Some people serve a specific goal. Like, I'm trying to get mentored and making it from project manager to director, or I'm trying to get mentored in a soft skill. And once you achieve that goal, it's okay to let that relationship go and find a new one for your new goal. People have a really hard time letting go of some of their relationships, but just not everybody not everybody's season in your life is forever, and that's okay. But you'll always have a friend and someone you can lean back on. So that's all that I've got. Anyone else? Anything else?
I'm golden.
We can all agree, stop saying I'm sorry. If the Cyber Queens ask you to do anything today, it's that. Stop saying it, please.
Yes.
I'm going to start slapping people. Okay, well, this has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, coming and listening about privacy things and about mentoring in cyber. We love you. We wish you all the success. If you need anything, please do ask. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because it is the easiest way you can support us, and it is totally free. No cost to you. Only your followers. Just kidding. All right, we love you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Christa.
Bye.
Thank you so much.